Looks like we're getting hooked up on Facebook. YouTube is live too. Let me just get this stuff going so I can see the comments. How's it going, everybody? About to get started here with Grace Palomino. See what's been happening in her world. I'm just going to play the intro and let people have time to come in, and then we'll pull her up. Got Grace Palomino's in the house. I know many of you are familiar with her, and she's been out there doing the work for a long time. Welcome, everybody. Facebook, YouTube, Zoom. Let me pull up Grace here. Get her up here. There we go. Let's see. Wait a minute.
Wait. Hi, Todd.
Hey, what's happening?
Hello. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you just fine. What's going down? What's happening?
Triggers.
What the hell's going on? Yeah, I was, this whole month has just been crazy in a good way. I mean, we know it's all good, but it just seems like as each day's gone by, it's just gotten more stuff in our field, I mean, more stuff going on, physical, emotional, mental, the whole 9 yards. And so the last 2-3 days, I've had a lot of stuff coming in, like a lot of us have. And in the flow of it, I caught part of your video that you did about triggers, and something went off in me, and I said something, and then you wrote me a note, and you're like, "Thank you for the support." And I'm like, "Hey, you want to do a show?" And the reason I did that is because one of the things that I'm noticing is that there's a lot of people like you, and I would not put myself in that category, that have been like having, I don't know, let's just say deeper, I don't even want to say that, but dimensional experiences. Like, you have this connection and window into the new earth, right? So you've got all this multi-dimensional stuff going on, like a lot of people, especially women, that have, not too many of them have come out as early as you did, but still they've been doing it. And one of the things that I noticed is, like, through the energy of what you were putting out there, is like, we're one of the things that's happening, if not the thing that's happening, is we're being, by forced or flow, to embody this and stay in the human and deal with the human things, such as the triggers, which really seem to be the biggest chunks of gold that we can find when we do that. And even though it seems mundane and menial, and kind of like dense. It's just ironic and paradoxical that, with all that stuff that goes on out there with someone like you, that we all have to put our feet to the fire and walk on the earth and be humans. And I think we're starting to get to a point where we're understanding that we're not human, we're divine human. Divine human is incorporating all of that, not just into our life, but into every cell of our body, every atom of our body. So I don't know. That's just was the intuitive part of it. So I'm happy to see you again, and
Me too for you, love. Yeah. Oh, so this is the thing that gets me every time is because we're not human. None of us are human. That's part of the deception and the illusion. We are spirit beings having a human experience. And this is why I experience probably higher levels of triggers, because when I went through my Kundalini, I opened up directly to spirit. So I'm actually, like, you guys see me as Grace's physical body, but what you don't know that I experience maybe on the inside is that through these blue eyes, I'm actually seeing through spirit.
yeah.
That's what happened. I'm at spirit. I'm there. And so it's like, it can be really interesting for me in moments, because I can see through spirit, and spirit doesn't understand what is going on in the world, because it just doesn't. And I'm really more of I have my Palladian self, and the Palladians are so heart based, no mind, just heart. It's just pure frequency, right? And that's another thing about saying that we're human. We're in these physical suits, but we are also still frequency. Everything is energy. So that, for me, honestly, Todd, when we talk about human, it triggers me.
It
We're not
triggers you.
human. Oh,
Well,
fuck yeah.
and it's interesting too, because there's all these different polarity integration dances happening. So whether it be physical, non-physical, masculine, feminine, and so on. And one of the things that I've really gotten in this month, especially the last few days, has been kind of in regard to like Morgan and I, but not the people, the energetic pattern of it. And so it was explained to me, which wasn't the first time, but it became more intense this time, was that feminine is pulling in all that multidimensional, you can call it spirit or etherical or whatever, into the earth, embodying it into the earth. And I'm like, from the shit, from the soil, from the, every step of the way, the plankton and the minerals and the crystals and the, and the trees and the plants and the, and like what I was told was, you're pulling everything up into almost like so that so that those aspects can experience what it's like. So I guess where I was going with that is, the other thing that came out of it was just recently was, your body is the same consciousness as all of that stuff. It's all you. And so when you start to look at your body like you do the rest of it, that's when it starts to get good. And I really understood that. And I actually watched not just the molecular and the cellular, but it was the atoms. It was the atomic and the subatomic in my body, in my field, which isn't just this, but actually converting and transforming. I just walked away with it thinking, wow, all of these intense moments, the triggers and so on and so on, they're actually, for me anyway, like, it seems like the biggest opportunity. And so, no, and I said that coming out of Soulgy 9 years ago, I am not human, I am soul. and then
Exactly.
it's gone to,
Soul. Thank you,
yeah,
Todd.
but it's gone to a point where the, it's not a human, it's a divine human. And there's a difference. So there's a human experience, and then there's a divine human experience. And that divine human experience literally is, you can call it the higher self, you can call it whatever you want, actually getting acclimated to this realm. And then, of course, as a result of that, being able to take take dense matter, physical matter, and convert it by integrating the physical and the non-physical and so on. So it's an interesting mix, and I don't think anyone's going to get out alive. I think everybody's going to have to face it.
Ooh, I like that. Wow, Todd. Todd, do you experience triggers then?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
wow.
And
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, it's I don't spend a lot of time interacting with a lot of different energies. I do take everything into myself, and I've learned that over, being with Morgan and learning how to integrate and so on and so on. But what I am finding is that I can't take my eye off the ball, that no matter what happens externally, I have the wherewithal within myself as a divine human to stay calm and to stay centered. Now, I'll have a situation where I'll project, or I'll fall into an old pattern or whatever, and I quickly, as quick as I can, I go sit with it and and just process it, integrate it, embrace it, love it, get away from the judgment of it, and then I put it behind me and move on, because I don't want that to attach to me anymore. So I just move on. Look, you can't beat yourself up. Just keep going with it. And the amazing thing about that, and I know it's not unique to me, is that when that happens, it's like going into a pile of poo and coming out with a bucket of gold. You go in and it's like, oh my God, and you go into the old loops of, why did you do that? And you're not worthy. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm a divine human. I'm a divine human. I just was presented with something. I'm going to look at it as a gift, and I'm not going to beat myself up or beat anyone else up in my head, and I'm finding that the elevations come very quickly, and they're huge. And that in itself, the elevations and expansions, to me, are almost as debilitating, and I don't mean that in a bad way, as a trigger. In other words, it's such a powerful influx that your body gets affected, your mood might get affected. And so I just find that in my own way, just I need these moments of solitude, and they could last 10 minutes or 2 hours or whatever, but take a walk or whatever. But I'm finding it's important for me in order to integrate and balance.
For sure. And I will tell you that we have had to spend more time alone, be away from others because of the intensity of the new information coming in, the triggers, with just seeing that there is still a lot of duality, and I don't live at duality anymore. I live at unity in the physical body even. So I'm in this more observation mode where it's not like I'm avoiding the crowds or anything, but I am learning to use so much more discernment than ever, because I basically told my higher self in the universe, I'm no longer transmuting everyone's bullshit. You see me on Facebook all the time because I'm posting as much New Earth as I can. Yesterday was very interesting, and I got a lot of bombardment with negative energy, and it does affect, and it can affect if I allow it.
Right.
I'm also a transmuter, so I can transmute it, but I'm just at this moment choosing not to allow others that are still in the unawareness state, and I'm going to call this unaware. I don't know how to explain being aware and unaware. It's a knowing. It's like I know what is happening out there. I know this was created. I'm so awake and aware, and I know that those are just maybe words to others that are watching, but inside my body I can see. And this is the thing about being able to see, is to the third eye. There's no veil for me. And actually we were at we had went to eat somewhere, and this little girl she looked at me, and I always know, like, the children, because children don't have the veil because they're not in the brainwashed state. She looked at me and Robert, like she knew. It was really cool. I'm like, look at her, like she knows, because they haven't been connected to the mind control system yet. So they can see. It was so cool. I was like, wow, she can see, That's the thing about me, that I'm here to help teach others.
Yeah.
to help others to see.
Yeah.
So with
And
me
it's,
being able to
you know,
see, right, that means other people can see too, because they're just me.
yeah. Well, yeah, everything that we do in ourselves contributes to the collective. And I think, at the heart of the matter, everybody really, you know, wants to serve the collective.
Mm-hmm.
And the ironic thing is that when you serve yourself and you
Mm.
take everyone out of the picture or anything external out of the picture, that's when you make your greatest contribution to the collective, because you're actually making it to yourself, which is back to what this, we started at the top of the show with the triggers, and you asked me, it's I guess, in a nutshell, for me, it's when I feel, because I do think that maybe it's just me, but I don't think so, that the higher sensitivities are getting more and more powerful. Like they're becoming, maybe it's increased telepathy or whatever you want to call it, but I find that I can sense that energy. I can't make sense of it. I'm not going to go into the loops of why did they do that? I'm going to go into, where are you at? How do you
Mm.
feel? Why did you do what you did? Why do you feel what you do? And I don't have to like dissect it, but I just find that if I go into kind of a momentary solitude, however long that is, that it something good happens. I don't know how else to put it. No matter what it looks like outside of me, I know this space now, and I'm trying to like sustain my I'm trying to sustain that field, and I'm learning how to do that, but there's no instructions. It's just like I can feel it, kind of thing. And it's yeah, I think this is what we're doing. I think this is how we're expanding and creating the new good book, the new templates, the new blueprints. And you might have some insight onto that, because I know you have frequent trips to the new earth. What does it look like lately?
It's what's interesting is that I'm seeing more of just I'm working my way through this matrix and simulation now. I do leave, I feel, every night. Seems like I'm leaving more at night. And I have this theory, okay? I have this theory that right now it's daytime here,
Mhm.
but it's nighttime on New Earth.
Mm.
And it's like this a balance of like being and that's why I see like it's almost like this side, because this side of me is more on the New Earth all the time, the left side, and then this side to my right is here. So I have this theory that it's when it's, and I wrote this down in channel years ago. It didn't make any sense at that time, but it's like if you go into meditation or into an inception, you can feel it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something. It's for me, there's like kind of a not coincidence that we're talking at this time, because at 1:00, I feel there's a shift in consciousness.
Today.
1:00. This
Oh,
is my
every
every
day.
day. So it's like for me, the simulation kind of runs from like 8 a.m. 1:00, something happens. And maybe this is happening where we're talking about this so that you can maybe have a similar experience, or maybe you can experience it with me. But there's something about 1:00, and then there's also something about midnight.
Hmm. Hmm.
Something
That's
about
interesting.
midnight. And I
That's
know this because when I was training about a year ago, I probably already told you the story, but my higher guidance told me to stay awake. I was like outside, I spent all day outside, and I was told clearly to stay awake until midnight. And I'm like, okay, why? I didn't question it, I just did it. And then at midnight, I heard one of my top reflections talk to me from the other side right at midnight. And he gave me a message, and it was so clear. And I called him the next day, and I asked him something that only I would have known. I said, "What's up with the Ziploc bag?" And he was like, "What? How do you know this?" Because he told me. He told me directly from the other side. And he whispered it into my left ear. There's something about, this is the thing for me, when you're out of the mind into the heart. For me, the moon is connected to the mind. So when I was able to bypass the moon, because I figured out that it's the thing running mind control, that moon is actually the thing that's running some of the mind control stuff. I bypassed that signal because I just raised my frequency so high to the love. I bypassed that frequency signal, talked to someone from the other side on New Earth. He was on New Earth when he talked to me from New Earth. Wow. And the thing is, like, I've been talking to New Earth this whole time. It's never ever stopped. It's just that now my body's more tired, so I'm navigating this realm. But the thing is about it, everyone, when you go out to the matrix, you can see both. You can see 3D and 5D. It's which one are you choosing to see?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's a great point. That's a great point because, like, you know, I was telling them on the last show that 2 days ago, I did some lucid dreaming from 1:11 till about noon with a 3-hour awake state. I woke up at 6:11 and I went back to at 9. And all this stuff came in. And I mean, like, just pages and pages of stuff came in and topics that I probably only written about 20% of what came in. I'm going to finish it. But one of the big things was talking about what we were kind of talking about, not necessarily triggers, but basically the inner work that we're doing as the divine human. You know, you have the multidimensional aspects. We have also to consider equally and wholly, this is the transmission, the multi-human aspects, like, you know, the little boy and the first husband and the father and the son and the worker and the manager and the, you know, all these different things where we left our stuff on the table that we've been pulling back through our inner work. But that basically, if you drill it down in the macro and the micro, that the work that we're doing, which was very 5D to me, it was even beyond 5D because they actually showed me into the 11th and 12th dimension, right? And that was that we're affecting, we're bridging, we're integrating, we're bringing together, we're uniting all timeline, all dimensions. And they gave me examples such as reptilians and Pleiadians, dark and light, you know, just all these different aspects. And they actually showed me how, and I'm not going to make up a number. I'm going to give you my best estimate as to what it looked like, because, you know, they don't deal in words, at least not with me. But about 85%, let's say, of the universal community is on board, even those that have been opposed to each other, you know, through all different timelines and dimensions, that are pretty much on board and ready to come to the party in unity consciousness. And the importance of the realization that it's not, that we're not just we know we're not just human, but that we're divine human, that we're gods in the flesh and goddesses in the flesh, and that the work that we're doing here is the biggest thing happening. It's our biggest point of potential, because it does involve this very dense realm and these dense incarnations that we've had.
It's beautiful.
Somebody put up this lady, this sister Dawn, who I asked to come on because she always has great comments. So this is in regard to what you were talking about and what we're kind of talking about. She said, some of the actions in the old ways of life are annoying. Triggers are no more for me, but it is annoying, which inspires me more to stay in alignment. And I guess that's what it is. You know, if you put it at the human level, at the gut level, boots on the ground level, something magical about working out and living in harmony by doing whatever we have to do with the triggering and so on, that is the path.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, you know, I posted this meme, and there's the trigger trap meme. Basically, the trigger is my body is triggering itself for a reason. Every time that I trigger, I go right back to God's source.
Yeah. Yes.
That's why we trigger. There's a movie, Inception.
Yes.
And they talk about in the movie how he has the little because they go into the dream states. He has this little like thing that you spin or whatever. I don't know. Have you seen the movie, Todd?
Yes, I
Okay.
have.
So and they, you know how they're in the movie and they go through like the music and they go through what they call kicks.
Yes, I
So
remember that.
triggers for me are kicks inside the body.
Yes. Yeah.
So my body is triggering me back to God's source every time because I know that I'm already at God. I'm at source. So the trigger is actually, it's almost, oh, I'm feeling it. They're telling me it's like a pulse. It's a pulse sensation because I'm already awake and aware in the system that's triggering me to stay awake in the dream because I'm already in the dream. I know that I'm in a dream.
Right. Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so it's weird too because people talk about 3D, 5D Earth, or this Earth, the new Earth, and remember people used to talk about there's going to be 3 and 4 Earths, and there's some people over here, and I keep going back to this whole thing about the integration, the integration higher self to human, and all the different polarities or whatever you want to call it, the dualities, whatever. So I'm going, okay, well, wait a minute now. If I know, like to use your words, this is a dream, and dream is probably not the right word, but like an exercise, an experiment, an opportunity for the universe to go to places it's never been before, which is enveloped in all of us, the fractals of the Great Mother, but is to look at all this stuff going on around the world in the story, whether it's people or events or energies of, say, racism or brutality or whatever the case is, and to be able to look at those things knowing that it's achievable as a divine human within myself to actually hold those things in the same honor, reverence, and regard. I mean, I there's a part of me that knows I played, for lack of a better word, the bad guy in certain incarnations, because it's not really a good or bad thing. It's just a matter of the soul gaining experience and code, basically. But I don't know. It's it's all moving so fast. Trying to understand it and explain it to me is very difficult to do, because it takes everything I have to be present in the moment. And even then, I fall off the track sometimes, and get triggered or act out or project.
Well, that's probably too why because the body knows, the soul knows there's only the now moment.
Hmm.
And, I've seen us all achieve the 0 point, which you already know about.
Hmm.
And I feel like there are certain beings on this planet that chose the victory of the 0 point field. I mean, I saw it before I even met everybody. I saw us all hit the 0 point, and it was so interesting. And I've said this before, but the day that I met Robert was the day I knew about the 0 point. And so it was for me, part of the experiment to get everyone to the 0 point, to get not just everyone, but the planet herself.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is how I saw it happen. I saw not only us all get into the now moment, but I saw planet Earth too, almost like a tilt. It's like everything's just coming into consciousness. Is all it is.
Yeah.
For me, 0 point energy is just a consciousness. But like you had said, like when you first started talking, even like right now, I'm bridging this energy from up above.
Yeah.
I can feel it coming in now.
Yeah.
So it's something that I designed in my physical body because I've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
And I can see it, and I can feel it. I mean, from the outside, you can't tell that it's happening, but I can feel it. It's like,
Absolutely.
I don't know. It's like I'm so tapped into the new Earth grid. Really, all it is it's new Earth energy that I just keep bringing down to the planet to help keep bridging the gap between 3 and 5. Because we're already all one. That's the thing. Right. And that, for me, so my higher self is telling me, Grace, so what is the ultimate? What are we gaining from this? what is the ultimate reason this is happening? Part of it is coming into the quiet. Because when we're in the quiet, we're getting the answers.
The void, the abyss, the womb.
This thing, the mind, so programmed. It is for me, the logic is actually the virus. The mind for me personally is the virus. It's a computer program. Like if you look at the movie Lucy, you see how she breaks herself down. That's kind of why I'm here. I'm here to break down the computer, bridge us back into the new earth reality, because new earth doesn't run off of a computer, off of a system. It runs off of a frequency. So I'm here to help bridge that gap of frequency. But this is like when my company opened, it was very clear that I was gonna have trouble with the brains. I was gonna have trouble getting everyone out of the dang mind and into their heart. Because that's what New Earth is. And on my website, that's like my number one key is like we are returning to the heart space, which is 5D.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that people can't think or that, it's a bad thing to do that. I'm just saying that for me, if you really, 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 truly want to connect to your spirit source, you're going to have to come out of the mind and experience what it's like to be in the present. Because for me, and Eckhart Tolle talks about it too. He's like one of my number ones, Eckhart Tolle, about the mind and how it's perceived in time and everything.
Yeah, it's like even if you want to, the days of being able to substantiate something, rationalize something, logically conclude something are going away. It's like we're operating on feeling. And if you're going to spend your time, and I'm not damning anybody, I'm just saying this is where I'm coming from. I'm not saying it's gospel, but I find that the more I try to make sense and this and that, I'm missing what's really happening, which is an influx of energies, whether it's coming in from the sun or whether it's coming in from my own higher aspects or however that works. But because it's become more of an instinct, a feeling, and a knowing, I guess. And and I love that. I love that analogy with the Lucy thing, because at the end of the movie, if you look at it energetically, she becomes this she leaves her mark in this supercomputer, right? So to me, that's like she took everything she had and she brought it down here and left it for humanity, left it for the collective, or however you want to put it. This channeling, or whatever you want to call it, this download I got a couple of days ago, which, like I said, I don't normally do. I used to years ago. But one of the things they talked about, and again, I realize this is metaphorical, and I realize we can't get caught up in the literal and the semantics. But they showed it to me this way, that and I'm not saying there is, but that there were 12 dimensions. So in other words, look at it as 12 dimensions. And the 12th dimension was pure source energy, where pretty much where we all came from, like before we split. And that we were between the 11th and the 12th. Like, in other words, our soul lineage had gone to that point. All right. And let me just leave it like that. And that we were basically taking that information and bringing it here. And the purpose behind it was so that we could push the outer breadth of Mother Universe to experiences of knowing herself in ways that hadn't occurred before. And of course, as the fractals of the one, we would experience that as well. It's for increased experience, increased wisdom, increased love, and knowledge. So I don't know. It's pretty cool though what's been happening. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen the rest of this year, because this first part of the year has been absolutely like every month has been like 10 years. You know what I mean? Especially June. God.
You experienced the no time, huh, Todd, love? You
I
experienced the
have.
no time.
Hmm. I have before. Yeah, I have, and the nothingness.
Mm.
Um, the I call it the to me it's the womb. It's like you're in this dark space where you can see nothing, right? And you've got to create your way out. Like, and to me that's where the imagination comes in. Like,
Mm.
you're in this space, and it can be scary. It can be because you don't know anything. There's nothing there. You're like, where's everybody? And then you realize,
Mm.
you know nothing to know everything.
I
And,
love that. I love how you said imagination too, Todd.
yeah.
Because sometimes for me, that's like one of the gifts that we have to create.
Yeah.
Like you can imagine, let's use this as an example. You can really imagine anything that you want, but this is another thing about the Palladians. And I'm really glad that you actually said about the 12th, the 11th, 10th, 11th, 12th dimension, because when I went through my beginning stages of awakening, they said, do you want to go to Pallades? Which for me, Pallades is 12th dimension. So I got the aspect of myself at 12, at Pallades, which was 12. But then I said, no, I want to go to Source. I want to go home. So I went higher, which for me, Source is 144.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it goes from 5 to 144. But I've gone through every aspect. But 12 is Pallades.
Mm.
I just knew it. It was just like a knowing. But see, in those different realms, like 10, 11, 12, that's where for me is like we get our imagination, where we have gifts. Because there's nothing that is impossible at all. It's just here in the 3D worlds, I feel because of the mind specifically, and just the way that we've been programmed and everything, that we don't believe in ourselves. But when you are at God and you are at source, like you know that you can do everything. And I truly believe in imagination, expanding the radar screen and creating.
Mm.
Because you can imagine, just an example, like $10,000 in your bank account, and you can make it happen. There's no limits. Zero. None.
Right. Well,
None.
and yeah, and there's a flip side to that too, which has been coming into my field. This isn't like new material, but it's just like getting in, like everything this year, you're getting it at a deeper and deeper level, or you could say I'm going to a higher and higher awareness perspective. And that the flip side is my thoughts, because we spent time going, okay, are those my thoughts? Or were they someone else's? Kind of like you were talking about earlier. I'm not going to transmute for other people now. Well, so I started going, okay, you need to start shutting your mouth when you don't know, when you're not stable. So that was the first lesson, and I think I learned a lot of that from my relationship with Morgan, because I am a masculine energy, and we kind of like represent, you can relate to this with Robert, we kind of represent the collective. And that is, he's too loud, she was too soft. So I started focusing on that. And then this year, especially the last 2-3 months, it was, okay, you're going quiet a little bit more, you're going to solitude a little bit more. Now that's obviously going to have an impact on how much you're talking. So like when you start to feel it, run, and just be quiet. And then also it directly influences my actions, because if I'm with myself, it kind of limits what I can do action oriented, to engage someone in a lower level or whatever the case is. But then I started thinking about my thoughts. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm starting to go to the root, which is my thoughts. So my thoughts can be an old loop playing. Oh, he's thinking this, or oh, she did that, or oh, the world's doing this, or oh, the world's doing that. So I'm stopping that there, because I realize that is my imagination. That's nobody else's stuff. That's stuff I picked up in what you're calling the mind, and I'm allowing it to keep going. So here to me is where it gets really interesting, because now if I can reduce or eliminate those loops where my imagination's running wild, and we've all been there, because that's not telepathy. Telepathy is not, hey, I know you're thinking this. No, telepathy is just knowing, And so if I can eliminate or reduce that dramatically, Now I can use the power of my imagination in terms of what you're talking about, which, you know, the 10,000 in the bank account, or the, you know, attracting the right person, or whatever the case is. But yeah, I think the imagination is what got us into this game. When we were all one, because the Bible didn't say, let there be dark. It said, let there be light. So
Right.
if there was light already, why would you say, let there be light? So it was the abyss, the womb, you know, that void. And we as a collective group said, hey, I wonder what we would do if we flipped the light on. And then the whole thing started, you know, the game of life.
Love that. So I'm going to share with you, of course, so many movies and songs that were created basically gave information or they're like little, for me, little clues or hints about how this game works. So you were just talking about the looping of the mind. So Journey was totally on it when they have this song, the wheel in the sky keeps on
Yeah.
turning. I
Yeah.
don't know where I'll be tomorrow. Todd, what are they talking about?
I don't know. I think it's probably a remix of Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air. You know,
No, it's
I
called
know.
There's a Satellite in the Dang Sky that triggers the
Mm,
mind
mm.
specifically to keep it looping. Addiction.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
They,
agree
they
with
were
that.
talking
Yeah.
about addiction in that song, I'm telling you.
I
I
don't doubt that. I
Yeah,
don't
for
doubt that.
sure. It was like I just knew it when I was like, and then if you look at the video too, there's a video. I remember calling Robert, I'm like, oh my God, I figured something out about this song. In the video, they have the Egyptian, they have all the symbolisms in there.
Mm,
This is the thing. Everything is it actually out there is subliminal. But that's the thing, like we talk about. You can either see the 3D or see the 5D.
yeah.
Well, once you wake
True.
up, you're pretty much, and then you start to see all new Earth 5D. Then everything starts making it just starts clicking open, 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 and then movies and songs, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's messages and everything. The Under
Yeah.
Armour symbol, Under Armour, and Hurley are symbolisms for the ley lines on this planet. The
Mm,
Under Armour goes like this. So there's a ley line that goes from Washington to Maine, and then
right.
one from California to Florida. I know this because I went and anchored light. And my higher self's like, you see, there's symbolisms everywhere. People would just pay attention. They could see it. See, for me, it's like once you start seeing, then you start connecting the dots.
Yeah.
You start opening more and more. Just like even this conversation, like yesterday, I was guided to post that meme, which triggered everyone, but then got me to you, which is then so this is like we're just keeping
Which one
opening
was
up.
that? Because my 3D mind can't remember anything. Which one? What did it
You're
say?
not who's 3D, Todd. You're
No, you
not
know what I
3D.
mean. I'm just
I know,
talking
I'm just
about my
joking.
short-term
I
memory.
love you.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the meme. Oh no, it was the video. I posted a
No, it was the video.
video.
Yeah, it was the video.
Yeah, about the
That triggered
triggers
that
and
triggered
the
people. That surprises me. That triggered people. Did it really?
did it
Well, what a
ever.
gift for you.
I got my ass handed to me yesterday.
On a platter.
No, I did. I'm
but
serious.
but you know, I think that's a big part of it too. And I want to go back to what you said a second ago because I think it's really important. But I think that's a big part of it too. You know, is the divine human aspect, the divine human experience that the higher self is you know, getting acclimated with, to get past the point of being shy, of being embarrassed. You know what? If you do something, you do something. You know, I mean, I projected a couple days ago, and it was a pretty rough experience for me. And but I went to deal with it immediately, and I didn't let that shit hang on me. You know, I didn't let it attach to my soul. I said, you know what? You know, I can deal with this now, and then I can keep going, and not look back. You know, and know that I have dealt with that to the best of my ability in that moment. And you know, I just think that you know, that's an important thing. The other thing you were talking about was okay, so like the 3D, 5D, seeing things through, and it's almost like we got two sets of eyes. really, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
and we can choose to either go into these loops, these programs, or we can go into the creative mode, the imagination, and say, whoa, this is the world. Well, what is the world? Well, we don't know what that world is, but because we're here to make it, basically. So if you look at the enhancement or upgrades or whatever you want to call it, we're talking cellular, molecular, atomic, subatomic, body, light body to or carbon based to light body, everything that goes with that, all of our different bodies. We beat GMOs, we beat 5G, we beat satellites, we beat the moon, we beat it all because there was nothing to beat. We designed it. So that's part of, I think, of the importance of what you're saying is that when you have, it's one thing to see from that higher perspective, but it's another thing to invoke it, bring it down, and actualize it and create this new earth. The new earth isn't like, to me anyway, like, oh, here it is. You're in heaven now. You're in nirvana now. No, it's everything that's ever been, plus our experience, plus our actions. Like we came in with the Akashic, we've had all these incarnations, we've had all these interactions with each other. Now, what are you going to do with it? The universe doesn't give you anything for free. You create it. So,
For sure. Yeah. And that's why we call ourselves co-creators, because I knew, years ago, the first year I woke up and I went back to sleep for a year, there, my guidance was showing me very clearly, they're like, you're going to meet, many other new earthers and you're going to build new earth.
mm,
We've been
right
talking
on.
about the center for years, right now that's not see the main focus. But it's, we, part of what I was shown to do is create new systems,
Right.
specifically on helping people with addiction.
I remember from our first shows, and keep going because I can
And
relate.
it's like, my hires, I'm like, I'm like, this is a big job. Like, addiction isn't going to go away overnight. And it's still the dream. Now, at this moment, it's like, I'm just enjoying my 5D reality with everything that I have in this now. Like, I've been able to manifest and just being happy within myself,
Yeah.
being happy in my relationships, I feel is the first step. So I feel like in order for us to really build and create, we got to be okay within who we are first.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had to go through my own addiction process. And even after going to rehab, I don't feel like I'm ever going to go back to a rehab, but I'm actually in rehab again in a way,
Mm.
because I can just see how even triggers can be an addiction. And I have, I am a healer and I do have, wonderful beings that I talk to every day. I just know who I need to speak with when it's time. And that's just the focus. I know the center thing will happen
Yeah.
and it's just going to happen in divine timing.
I
And we
wanted, I
already
wanted,
have,
to, yeah,
yeah.
I wanted to touch on that because that's very important. And I also want to say you're right about this. And it's very difficult to talk about a lot of these things because of the semantics. Because one word might mean something to you that it means something a little bit different to me. So, like the word addiction. But I get what you're saying. And you said triggers can be an addiction, drama can be an addiction. Uh, a specific multi-dimensional aspect of me can be an addiction. It can be. A
Yes.
label can be an addiction. A skill and ability can be an addiction. And an addiction to me being something that distracts you from the business at hand, which is what you
Mm.
so eloquently just talked about, and being able to be a conscious co-creator, which is a huge thing. Now, in terms of a lot of people like myself and probably everybody here, you included, has gotten a download specific to our purpose, to our mission. Some people might call it a dream, uh, but it's a knowing that you're to be doing this. You're pulling this information in for a reason. I've been trying to do a 24/7, 365 multiple channel network for 2 years. but it came to me last year as I let go and I let go and I let go and I didn't control and I just, just let go, period. But in the last week or so, one specific transmission came in which said, look, just along what you said a minute ago, are you happy with yourself? Are you on it? I mean, you're not there, but your trajectory, are you happy? Are you whole, And what happens if you leave now? And I said, well, I didn't say this. I was actually being told this, I guess, from my higher aspects, that energetically you downloaded that creation that you had, and you've implemented it into the ethers. You can't judge or measure the impact of what you've anchored into the earth by some 3D measurement tool. Like, how many buildings do you have? How many people do you employ? You put that stuff out there. And whether you do it from your physical body or other aspects of you created, that came through you as the conduit, and it's there. It's real, and back to the imagination, back to the etherical plane.
Love it, Todd. Yeah, because everything that we can imagine, we can create.
That's right.
Everything.
And of course, we came here to learn, and this is what I love about the polarity thing, the duality thing. That's why I say, I've said this before, but the human is the hero for a lot of different reasons. But the very first time I think I ever said it was because we showed up. We had the etheric balls to come down here and say, we're going to go deep into, how do you go deeper into the abyss when you can't even measure the distance in the abyss? You know what I mean? So, yeah, this is a new language. It's a new code. It's a new math. It's a new way of life. It's a new earth, but we are creating it. It's not something that's set in stone. And the energy, the universal energy doesn't stand still. It's always moving. You go to bed today, the truth is at a certain level. You wake up tomorrow, guess what? There's a new truth. Right? Just like when you go to a higher awareness, you see shadows you didn't see before in yourself. Right? It never stops. This is who we are, what we're a part of.
I love everything that you do, Todd.
I love what you do. Were you guys still in California?
We're in Sedona.
Oh, you're in Sedona. Oh, man.
Yeah, so let me just tell you, when you come to Sedona and you know about triggers, they're going to amplify.
I've been there 4 times, okay? I've been there 4 times, and I know what you're talking about. Believe me.
You got to prepare yourself. It's beautiful because if you have any kind of bullshit inside of yourself,
that's why I can't. That's why he sits next to me on these.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Cool. I love it. Yeah.
The first time.
Egyptian is like. Oh, I'm glad that you brought that up. Egypt was one of my timeline of an ascension.
Yeah.
That I remember, and the thing about Egypt, and this is too when the Kundalini opened up, I feel like it brought me right back to Egypt, because in Egypt, we didn't have money. We just manifested like quick. Yeah. So I feel like that consciousness is something that we're coming back to, or we have a choice to do it.
Oh, I believe we are, no doubt. No doubt.
Because that's how I got the manifestation download, was from my Egyptian self. It was like, you guys don't need money. You can manifest things out of thin air if you believe it enough.
Yeah. Well, I think people talk about the history books. The history books don't tell the true history. And if you really look at what's been deleted from the history overall, I don't mean all the specifics and stuff, but the overall has been what we've achieved, what we can do, who we really are, what our capabilities really are. And if you look at just like the last 5,000 or 6,000 years, which is a blink in the eye, we've had so many surges in humanity. If you go back 10, 15,000 years, and you're talking Lemuria, Atlantis, who knows, as far as Agartha, You've got Egypt. You've got a lot of impactful stuff. Go Becky Tepe, that one that just came up. That's 12,000 years old. Some of the stuff that they're finding with that, and they've only excavated 5% of it. I mean, it's like a fire hydrant. A fire hose has gone off now. You can't stop it. This is it. This is the big one. This is the big dance. Right on.
Yeah, I know you can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Even now, just
Sedona.
talking to you, we're activating, you know?
I know it is. Well, that's why I love doing this, because it's what happens. For me, I feel like I'm a client in a session, like I just got off one, and then did 20 minutes before we started this one. And I have to kind of like pay attention to my field because I get so impacted. You get drowsy, that energy's coming in, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go sit with Grace now. So, I've kind of developed a way to do it, but it takes a lot. And I'm not talking about what I do. I'm talking about what we all do, because we're constantly getting exposed to new code at a more frequent rate and at a wider expanse. I could sit down with you 2 years ago. We did a show and it was like we exchanged 100 pieces of code. We do it now and it's like 10,000. But we've all elevated and expanded, and we have a wider field of contain, that we can contain that.
I'll share something that I felt with you if I can. So
Absolutely.
this part of our body right here in the neck is called the atomic doorway. Called the breath of God.
Yeah.
Feel like you need to have some work done there. I felt
I
it when we first started talking, and I just wanted to share. Oh, and this is to why I feel this is coming up, because of why the whole mask thing and why I'm getting triggered and triggering others. And I talked to a few other soul family and ascensioners, and I won't go a lot into it, but this is why I feel like I love you so much, because you are speaking truth continuously. What happens is, for me, the atomic doorway right here, when we start speaking truth like we do, we open up a doorway for information. Because when I get downloads, I actually get a lot of it, I get through the atomic doorway. And this is the thing with the mask for me. As it's been covered so we can't speak the truth. And, it's no judgment or anything, but it's just like, that's why my spirit is like, no. Because then I feel like I'm being covered up. But either way, I'm still gonna speak. It's not gonna change anything. That's what I learned from yesterday. But I do feel like you could have some work done here.
No, believe me, I'm on that.
Oh, I love
so
you.
It's been a big part. It's been a big indicator for me going back like, I mean, I rewoke 9 years ago. So I'm going back like probably 7 years. In fact, like the Mother Mary, who used to come in my field a lot, she used to work on my neck. She would always work on that piece. Yeah. And then what happens, sometimes it's very loose. And then sometimes like the last, it's actually in pretty good shape today, but like the last 3 or 4 days prior, when I'm really processing a lot of stuff and going deep and then going up and then going deep, it gets sore. It gets a little bit sore, but yeah, I pay a lot of attention to that part, that place right there. I really do. And I've never heard what you said about the atomic doorway, but it makes a lot of sense to me, because it almost feels like a hatch, like, like there's a hatch in it.
For sure. It is.
Right on.
It's also part of the 0 point energy too. That part of us, the atomic doorway.
So how long are you guys going to be in Sedona?
Well, for at the moment, for another month. And then from there, I feel like, I'm going to tell you what I feel.
Okay.
And I hope that Robert's on board. I feel like he is. Is I want to be in higher elevations of nature where there's a lot of trees. And so almost like Shasta energy. Yeah. I feel like being locked away in a cabin or something for like a while, away from everyone.
Lucky Robert. It's going to be a honeymoon, Robert.
We're always on a honeymoon all the time.
Oh. Well, next time we'll have to get him on. Where's he at? Is he right there?
He's here.
Is he going to say hi,
homeboy? Come say hi. He's going to
say
come
hi,
say
DJ?
hi. Yeah, he's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Next time we'll have to get y'all on. We'll talk for an hour about sacred sexuality.
Hey, Todd.
What's up, brother?
How's it going,
So
bro?
I'm going to reach out to you this week, and we're working on a little creative thing. So we could use
Awesome.
we could use some music, you know.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, we got to two or three DJs involved, and yeah, online collaboration. I'm working on some of the tech part of it, but yeah, I'll reach out to you. Maybe we can work the tech part out together.
All right, brother.
It's good to see you guys. I love you very much.
Love you
I appreciate
too.
what you guys are doing, and
You too, Todd.
I
Same
appreciate your tenacity. You know, a lot of people think these sacred unions are all peaches and cream and you know, fluffy love and light shit. Yeah, but you
No,
know,
they're not.
it's
Some moments are.
well, we talk about the triggers, and you know, of all the things, I think, I mean, you learn a lot from that type of relationship, but to me, that's been one of the biggest things for me is going from one end of the spectrum in terms of a conflict or a triggering energy to seeing the real gift of it and taking the
Yeah.
personal out. And, you know, it's just been a really big gift. And I appreciate these couples because I know you can see it in their energy. They're like, you know, and but it's a beautiful thing. And you guys are brave and beautiful together and individually. So, but I'll reach out to
That
you.
means so much. Yeah. And Robert's actually a natural healer. He was able to get through some really deep stuff for me that not everyone could do. So I'm grateful for him. Like out of everything, it was like he was able to clear a lot of trauma and stuff that was deep, you know.
Magic hands.
Even though the Kundalini opened up, there was still trapped stuff in the
Absolutely.
chakras, you
Absolutely.
know.
And we all got something going on because if we didn't, one
We'd
of
be
us would
here.
be walking on
And
the
then
water.
then we wouldn't trigger.
Right on.
Ooh, yeah.
All right, y'all take
Todd,
care.
love you.
You too.
I'll see you later.
Send
I'll
our
reach
love
out
out
to you.
there.
Okay.
I'll reach out to you later.
Todd.
All right.
Love to
See y'all
everybody
later.
out there watching us in cyberspace.
Bye, Todd. Thank you so much, love.